Hey folks, well, we blew right past the end of the month and I'm a little bit behind on my monthly fantasy character build out, but I don't feel too bad about it because this month on Dragons and Dice, we're going to a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And for May the 4th, we're going to be building the most iconic bounty hunter in the Star Wars saga, and that's going to be Boba Fett. Let's check out the build. Welcome to Dragons and Dice. So, for our fantasy build out, I thought let's step out of the high fantasy, low fantasy builds and go into something that's a little more sci fi. And in honor of May the 4th be with you, we're going to be building Boba Fett. And he's just an awesome bounty hunter character from the Star Wars universe. And I even like the new Disney series they did with him too, which is always kind of like flip a coin. Some of those are great, some of them not so much. But I thought, hey, what better to build for an awesome D&D character than a gnarly bounty hunter. So let's check him out. Starting off at level 1, we're going to start out fighter, and this is going to set us up for all those awesome weapons that we're going to be able to use as a bounty hunter. And for our skills, we're going to grab up perception, obviously, as you have to have this to find your quarry. And then we're going to grab intimidation. That just fits so well with the bounty hunter too. We also get a fighting style for that. And for this one, we're going to go archery, even though we'll be using rifles and pistols, but that's going to give us +2 attack rolls on all those ranged weapons. For our weapon masteries, I'm going to pick the laser rifle and the laser pistol, and then I'm going to also grab up a scimitar, but this is going to be flavored as like a vibro blade that he keeps hidden in his armor and only brings that when he needs it. And I like that. I would like to have a long sword, but since, it's going to be strength based and we're going to be a dex based fighter, we're going to grab scimitar. It's going to fit right in as the best option that we have. If you'd rather, you can grab a short sword, but I kind of like the variety of mastery properties we get by taking the scimitar. It gives us 3 nice properties between Vex, Slow, and Nick. For our background, we're going to obviously take the criminal background, and this gives us a couple of great skills for a bounty hunter right off. We get stealth and sleight of hand, which are just right on point for the field that we're going with. And then we also get thieves tools, and the flavor I'm going to use on that, these are going to be like data spikes that we use to jimmy open locks and hack into security systems, R2D2 style, but just kind of handheld for us. And then we also get with this the origin feat, which is alert. And this is just going to be great for us because that's going to let us add our proficiency bonus to our initiative. And I just like the feel of it. It lets us get the drop on peeps, just like a sneaky bounty hunter would. And then for our ability scores, we're going to go +2 dex and +1 intelligence with that background. So that's going to give us, we're going to dump strength. We'll have an 8 in strength. We'll end up with a 17 in our dexterity, which is good for a dex-based fighter starting off. We'll have a 13 constitution and a 13 intelligence +1 for a 14. And since I'm going to do a little bit of a homebrew on an arcane archer here, that's going to be important. So we need that intelligence to be decent. We'll do a 14 wisdom. This is because we're going to need it for multi-classing later. And then we're going to dump charisma. He gets more charismatic in the Book of Boba series, but not so much early on in the Star Wars saga. And then for starting out weapons, if your DM is being cool about this, since you're playing in a Star Wars area, surely you're playing with laser pistols and rifles. I'm going to grab one of each. I'm going to get a scimitar and a dagger. And that dagger I'm just going to keep hidden in my boot in case of emergencies. And then if I get to pick, I would go with half plate starting off, as it looks kind of like Mandalorian armor. And, he's a heavy armored dude in his Mandalorian gear. But if you're starting out level 1 and you're going to play this guy all the way up, grab up some scale mail, whatever weapons the DM will allow, and then kind of part of the flavor of the character can be that you're constantly upgrading your weapons and armors like Mandalorians do in the Star Wars. Now, kind of for the tricky part when we do these builds, what species to pick. And what species would the clone of a Mandalorian be? And I think the best D&D counterpart for this will be the 2024 Orc. We get that really good dark vision, 120 feet. This just seems really on point, as in our helmet will augment our vision so that we can always see at night. Like we've got night vision goggles. And We also get two special abilities that I really like for this. We get the adrenaline rush that'll let us dash as a bonus action, and that extra mobility, it's like we're firing our jetpacks and getting to move extra on our turn. And then when we get relentless endurance, and this lets us go to 1 HP instead of 0. And I think this is what lets us escape the Sarlacc and crawl out of that great pit of Carcoon when we got knocked into it on Tatooine by, that old turd Luke Skywalker. But I think Orc is like going to be the best one for a Mandalorian style build. And then at level 2, we get all those fighter goodies of Action Surge and Second Wind, which makes every character great, and it's going to be especially nice on this one. And then at level 3, we're going to go with a Xanathar's subclass here. And for that, I'm going to go with Arcane Archer. We do get prestidigitation here for free. I'm going to have that be flavored like little flares that I can fire off like as distractions if I need be, or like a little hologram that I use for transmissions. Also, with our Arcane Archer subclass, we get to pick between Arcana or Nature as skills. And I'm going to take Arcana, and I'm going to flavor this since we're playing D&D in a Star Wars settings, that this has been converted over to like tech. It just seems like that would be like the natural transition, and this is going to be like computer integration and knowing how like electronics and stuff like that works. So I'm going to take Arcana for that. Now, here's the bit of a rub with this build. The Arcane Archer is only supposed to work with a short or a longbow, but for the fun of this build, I'm going to assume that the DM will hand wave this, and I mean, we have laser rifles and pistols, and the way I'm going to flavor these special arrows that we're supposed to be shooting is that they're going to be specialized cartridges. And with the Arcane Archer subclass, we get these special shots 2 times per short rest, and we get to pick 2 different specialized shots. And the first of these shots I'm going to be taking is the bursting arrow. And I'm going to flavor this like it's an explosive round. And when this hits, it goes off in a 10-foot radius from the target and does 2d6 of force damage to every creature within that range. But they do get to make a dexterity save. And this is where our intelligence comes in, because intelligence will be our spellcasting modifier for this. And then the other shot that I want is the shadow arrow or shadow shot. And this causes an extra 2d6, and they have to make a wisdom save, or they can only see 5 feet in front of them. And I like to think of this as like a flashbang round, like it hits the person and then pops and it blinds them, so that, gives us a little bit better cover. At level 4, we get a feat and we get another weapon mastery. For the weapon mastery, I'm going to grab up the dart. It's not our first mode of attack, but Boba does have these really awesome wrist darts that he can shoot out, and he also has hidden darts that are in his knee that he can fire, which seems just so cool that like you get like grappled by somebody and you can now throw a dart from your knee, Boba Fett style. So I'm going to take the dart. It's not an often used D&D weapon, but it's really on flavor for Boba Fett. And for our first feat, since we're in the Star Wars setting, I feel like Jedis would definitely be considered like Gish build casters, maybe like a Blade Singer or an Abjurer. Who knows? I'll probably build one like that at some point. But being we are the guy that hunts those guys, the feat I want the most right off the rip is going to be the Mage Slayer feat. And this is going to give us a boost to that dex, and that's going to be really nice because that gives us, an 18 now. And now, anytime we hit someone that's concentrating on a spell, they have disadvantage on that save. And I think this is going to really play well into our Mandalorian species feel, because the other ability that this feat gives us is that if we fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma save, we can just choose to succeed. I feel like if Obi-Wan walks up to us and he's like, "These are not the droids you're looking for," we're like, "Oh no, those are the droids we're looking for now," as we can just auto-succeed once a day, wisdom, intelligence, or charisma save, which is going to make us really good against casters. At level 5, we get our extra attack, which is always nice, and we get that new tactical shift ability that lets us move without provoking opportunity attacks when we take our second wind. And here I also want to add in our first attuned magical item that we need for some Boba Fett flavor, and that's going to be his jetpack, because we need to be able to soar in through the sky and be raining down death from above. And for that magic item, there's not going to be anything better than winged boots. And now we can use a magic action and fly for an hour. Seems right on point because they have a cooldown. It's like you only got so much fuel in that jetpack, and then you got to recharge. And the way I'm going to flavor these, they're not going to look like boots. They're going to be a jetpack with a big rocket on the top of it that we wear on our back. And then we can fly around the sky. Level 6, we're still a fighter. And here we get another feat. And I'm going to grab up Sharpshooter. Not as good as it used to be. That old +5 or +10 damage, -5 to hit would have been great. But I think this is going to be kind of like we have a targeting computer. It's helping us track targets, even if they hide. We don't have a disadvantage now to fire when we're at close range. And this feels really good for our fighting style because we're going to be fighting up close with pistols and at long range with rifles. So if we're up close, we've still got our pistol, pow, pow, pow. We don't have to take any kind of disadvantage on range attacks. And we get that long shot advantage ability. So if we need to snipe someone out, we have no limit on our range up to the max range of the weapon. And this also boosts our dex to 19. And so one more half feat on dex, and then we'll have that max. I mean, fighters are just so great in the number of feats they get. It's just insane the stuff you can put on a fighter build. Level 7, we're going to get another special shot from our Arcane Archer subclass here. And I'm going to grab up the Enfeebling Arrow. And this one does 2d6 necrotic damage and then saps their strength if they fail a Constitution save. And their weapon attacks will do half damage until the next turn. And this is what I would add, like, if we fire our darts out, that's how I would fire these. Like, they're poison darts from our wrist rockets and, like, saps their strength away. Just feels really nice to boom, shoot a little dart out. Oh, that was poison. We put an arcane shot on it. We also get, and this is kind of, since it's an old subclass, all our shots are considered magical now for point of ignoring resistances. That's not that big a thing in the new stuff. But if it was to come up, we now fire magic bullets out of our rifles. And the last subclass feature that we get at level 7 is that we get Curving Shot. And this says that if we miss with one of our shots, we can use a bonus action and re-roll that attack at a different target. So it's like we have tracker rounds now. I feel like I would play this, like, if I missed, I would, like, hit something on my wrist pad and have it, like, retarget and home in on someone else as that bullet finds a new target. And at level 8, we're a fighter still, and that gets us another feat. And now I want to max out that dex stat. And for that, I'm going to take Resilient Dexterity, and this will give us proficiency in dex saves. This just is going to be awesome for us fighting against casters, because now if we fail a Wisdom, Int, or a Charisma save, we can just auto pass. And then if we are going to be passing most of our dex saves with proficiency in it, and a maxed out level 20 dex stat, and it's just going to make us really a terror on the battlefield against casters. We just won't get hit by spells, and the ones that do hit us, we're going to take half damage from almost all the time. Now, for level 9, and so to get the feel of what all Boba can do here, I think it is time that we multi-class, and we're going to go Ranger. And this is what we took that 13 in Wisdom for. And we get the Hunter Mark spell here and can cast it twice right now for free. And while I dog on Hunter's Mark all the time, on Boba, it feels right to use this as we just have our targeting computer and our mask lock on to someone, and then we just single target eliminate them, because that's kind of how we're built, is like a Nova single target assassin. And then we also get a skill from being a Ranger, and I'm going to pick up Animal Handling, because, I mean, at some point, we want to pet Rancor if we can get to that part. It just feels right. And we get 2 more weapon masteries here, and this can be whatever you want that fits with the setting. I'm going to grab up a Quarterstaff with Topple Mastery, and the flavor on this is going to be Boba's Tusken Raider Gaffy Stick that he gets from the Book of Boba series. And for the other one, I'm going to grab the Dagger, so that if we pull out our boot knife, we've got, the ability to have the mastery for it. And it also lets us kind of optimize some melee combat if we want. We can use one attack to make a nick with our Vibroblade Scimitar, and then pull out our boot knife and use the dagger, because they're both light weapons. We also get 2 Ranger spells here. And one thing is, we're kind of a weird magic user in that our shots work off intelligence, but our Ranger spells are going to work off wisdom, and we're not going to end up with a great wisdom save. And so I'm going to pick spells that don't need saves. And for a Ranger spell, I'm going to grab Absorb Elements. And this is just going to be flavored as like our Mandalorian armor is just getting better, and it lets us, take in that damage and then redirect it back out the next time that we fire a shot at someone. And the other spell I'm going to take is Long Strider, as that's, no concentration, doesn't, conflict with our Hunter's Mark, and it just makes us more mobile. And the more mobility you have, the more Boba Fett you feel with this build. Level 10, we're Ranger 2, and we get one more spell. I'm going to grab up the Alarm spell. I mean, as a bounty hunter, we're having to sleep with one eye open, and I like the flavor of this to be that, like, we're on Slave One or, ship, and that it's got, like, motion detection sensors that go off if anyone gets close to it. Also, little sidebar here. If I was playing a long campaign with this and I got to set up a Bastion, I would totally go with one of two options. I would either have Slave One as my Bastion, as somewhere I always just went back to and could do all my downtime activity, and just something to keep in mind that if you get to build a home base, make that just as flavorful as the character you're building. The other option, if you don't want to have a ship and you need something that's a little more, brick and mortar per se, you could go with Jabba's Lair from the Disney series, The Book of Boba, as your Bastion. And it's just like little things to think about. I mean, flavor's free, but man, it makes all the difference in how a character feels to play. And I mean, honestly, arcane archers are a bit suboptimal of a fighter subclass, but when you get all the flavor to it, it feels really cool to be doing, like, oh, an explosive shot and I miss, but that shot curves, and like it just adds in a lot of fun to the game if you really focus on the flavory parts. So at level 11, we're going to be a Ranger 3, and we get a subclass, and we get one more spell. For the spell, I'm going to grab up Hell of Thorns, and the flavor on this will be like a multi-shot mortar. It shoots up in the air and then crashes down. It takes a bonus action to cast, and it doesn't require concentration, so we can keep our Hunter Mark up, and it adds an extra D10 of damage. And then we get a lot of other features here. And with our Ranger level, we're going to get expertise right now and a couple of languages. I'll probably take like Tusken and Droid if you're playing in a Star Wars area. I mean, be creative with them, make it something that fits in your setting. And then we get another fighting style. I'm going to grab up 2-weapon fighting so that it optimizes our vibroblade and boot knife attacks. And then, who knows, maybe your DM will let you dual wield laser pistols. That would be super cool and right on flavor. But for the subclass, the one I want is Gloomstalker. I mean, heck, the name even feels on point for a bounty hunter. We get 10 foot of extra speed on the first round of combat. And then one time per turn, we can do a Dreadful Strike that deals 2d6 psychic damage. And the bad part is we can only do this Wisdom mod per day, which is a little low right now. But we also get to add our Wisdom mod to our initiative. So with the alert feat and our maxed out decks and that, we have plus 11 to initiative at this point. We are always going to be getting the drop on people, and that just feels really nice. All right here's where I think we should be getting our second attuned item, and the one that I want to make Boba really work like he should is going to be a Headband of Intellect. And that's going to be integrated right into our helmet. We're not going to be wearing just a little, circlet. It's going to be, our awesome Mando mask. That's going to give us a 19 intelligence, and that's going to make us a lot more on point with how good our arcane archer shots would be. And that's kind of going to be that little stopgap to fill up our intelligence being a bit low. So let's check in and look and see what like a full first round Nova round would look like for Boba Fett, since we just got our second subclass and we're kind of all dialed up and ready to go now. So let's say we're using our laser rifle, and that's going to do 3d8 radiant damage on each shot, and we're going to get 2 of those. We're going to have our Hunter's Mark up on both those shots. We can do 2 arcane archer shots as needed per short rest. So that gives us another 4d6 from those, and once per turn we can do a Dreadful Strike from our Gloomstalker ability. So if we went full Nova on the first round, and that would include action surging, so that we got 4 attacks, that'd be 12d8 for our 4 attacks, plus 20 from our dex, 2 arcane archer shots for 4d6, 4d6 of Hunter's Mark damage, and 2d6 from our Dreadful Strike ability. That is just a crazy amount of d6s and d8s flying around the table right now. But, I mean, also that laser rifle, we're playing in space. That's a strong weapon, 3d8. But, I mean, we're at level 11, so that's not too far off, where you should be. And so if we were to have that just like golden round where everyone failed their saves against their arcane archer shots and we hit with everything, which we got max dex, that's not that out of the realm of possibilities, we would do 109 damage in the first round, plus the status effects from our arcane archer shots. And that feels pretty good for a Nova round at level 11. I mean, we're a martial character and we just topped the century mark in a round, so that's really awesome. Now, at level 12, I want to grab up that ranger feat that's just waiting right there for us. We get one more spell slot here also. I'm going to grab the jump spell, and the flavor will be, we're firing like just a, quick burst of our jetpack to fly through the air for a long range jump. But what I'm really missing, the flavor that we need here, is we need that wrist mounted flamethrower that Boba Fett has. I mean, it's just totally been neglected to this point. And so the feat I'm going to take here is Magic Initiate Wizard to grab that flavor. And we also get 2 cantrips. And for this, I'm going to grab Shocking Grasp, and it'll be like a discharge off our Vibro Blade as we like electrocute someone up close. And the other cantrip I'm going to grab is Mending, as it just allows us to tinker on our gear and fix our weapons, some small flavor stuff like that. But the spell is what we really went here for, because I need a flamethrower, and that level 1 wizard spell that's going to fill that gap is going to be Burning Hands. And it just seems really cool that now we can cast that if we need to and spray a big cone of fire in front of us if there's like a bunch of small enemies. Okay, now level 13, and we're going to multi-class, because how could you be a bounty hunter if you didn't at least take a few levels of rogue? And so we get another skill here. We're going to grab acrobatics just for the fun movement that we get going along. We get 2 more expertise, probably get stealth and, acrobatics also, just, or maybe grab up arcana so that you're better with the tech that we're playing with in this thing. We get another language. Turns out Boba's a polyglot. And then we get 2 more weapon masteries. We can about use anything we want to now. Grab up a rapier as its finesse, and it might be an upgrade to our scimitar, and it can keep the same flavor as a vibro blade. And then I'll grab the whip, same reason, it's finesse, and we can use that like it's like a grappling chain. And then we also get sneak attack too, which will be great, as we will be, first round Nova nuke is how we're kind of building this guy, and sneak attack's going to fit right in with that. Level 14, we're Rogue 2. We get Cunning Action. Always nice to be able to dash, disengage, hide, all that jazz as a bonus action. Feels really good for us now, being able to pop out first round, do all our things, take that hide action if we have got Hunter's Mark up before we started. If not, we'll be casting Hunter's Mark on the first round, and then we can use the hide action later on. And at level 15, we're going to be a Rogue 3. And there's a couple subclasses we could go here. We could go with Thief so that we could use our magic items as bonus actions, because we're going to need to add another magic item here real shortly to fill out the last of our weapons arsenal. But the one I think I really want to go with here is Assassin. It just seems perfect for a bounty hunter. It's what they do, just murk peeps left and right. So we're going to stick with that as our subclass, and we now have advantage on initiative rolls. And our initiative is a plus 12. So we basically go first every time. We also now, and this is going to play so nicely in with our first round Nova attack, is that we have advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn, and our sneak attacks at our rogue level to it, which is only 3 at this point, but hey, ain't nothing. And we just feel really good about going first all the time and just taking a big target off the battlefield every round. And so we have some choices after this, like what we want to do with our career. I'm definitely going to grab the feat up that's right here at Rogue 4. And then I think after that, we're going to finish out as a fighter so that we can get that 3rd attack and just be a first round terror. But first, let's get that last magic item we need to fill out that Boba Fett fill, because he's got a massive rocket that's sitting on his jetpack that he can shoot up in the air and just do a massive amount of AoE damage. And so I think the item that I want to fill that out is going to be a Wand of Fireball. But to Boba, it's going to be mounted on his jetpack, which is actually his boots of flying. So kind of taking a little bit of liberties in the look of what the magic items are here, but the effects that they have are just right on point. And it's just, like I said, flavor's free. It doesn't matter if they're boots or if you got them hanging off your shoulders and using them like jetpacks. They just won't let you fly. So it feels really good now. If we're able to sneak up on a group, we could fire our wand of fireballs pre-combat, initiating the attack, and then with that amazing initiative and advantage on the initiative rolls, just go ham first round because we know we're going to be going first. So my goal, if I get to in game, is going to be to stealth up and open combat with my fireball, and then hopefully roll initiative. And then we're almost always going to be going first with our advantage and our huge initiative. And now it's just pew 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 like we do. So level 16, it's Rogue 4, and that feat, I know we're going to get another half feat at 20 with our epic boon. So let's take a half feat here. And for that one, I'm going to go with Inspiring Leader and boost Wisdom by 1. And this will let us give out a lot of temp HP each short rest. I feel like this is kind of like Boba later in his life in the Book of Boba series. He's taken over the Hutt's lair, and now he's like the true crime lord on Tatooine, and he's like rallying his troops. And this kind of lets him give those motivational speeches, but those motivational speeches come with a buttload of temp HP. Inspiring Leader is such a great feat. Somebody in the party should always have it. It's just free HP is just amazing to have. And at level 19, we're a fighter 11, and we get that juicy third attack each time we take the attack action. And so with our Nova round, we're going to be going 3 attacks, action surge, and doing 6 more. It's going to be 12 attacks on the first round of battle. It's just going to feel great. Finally, at level 20, we're going fighter 12, and we're going to get that epic boon. And the boon I'm taking for Boba Fett is going to be the Boon of Fate. And this will let us boost any stat. We're going to put that 1 point into Wisdom to even it out as 16. That'll let us do an extra Dreadful Strike, per short rest, which is nice. And then we get the ability to roll 2d4s when us or any creature passes or fails a d20 test. And then we can add or subtract those 2d4s to a roll. And this makes me feel a lot better if we really need to nuke someone down, to make sure that our arcane archer shots are going to be hitting. And the way I'm going to flavor this is that we just fire, and it's like we really focus in, and that makes the shot more accurate. Even if it seems like it would have missed, we're just good enough that now it doesn't. So let's check out how this build looks for our level 20 Nova round, what it's going to look like when Boba Fett just goes ham off the start of the battle. Alright, so with our max dex and expertise in stealth, I'm going to fire off a level 3 fireball from my back rocket. That's going to be 8d6. And then we're going to roll initiative. And we have advantage and a plus 14 to our initiative right now. That just is awesome. So round 1 will be bonus action, Hunter's Mark on the biggest baddie on the field. And we're going to say we're fighting something that's big enough to live through this, so we don't have to, worry about dropping Hunter's Mark at any point. So we're going to do 6 attacks because we're going to action surge, and that's going to be a 3d8 for each, and that'll be 18 d8s plus 30 from our dex mod. 2 of those will have arcane archer shots on them for an extra 4d6, and if someone was to, pass their save, we can make them fail with our epic boon now. So we will also do a dreadful strike for 2d6. We'll do sneak attack damage for 2d6 plus 4 for our rogue level. And then we will do 6 more d6s from our Hunter's Mark. I mean, that's going to be a lot of dice to check. And let's check what the average damage is if we were to hit with every single thing on there. So that'll be 18 d8s plus 30 from just our attacks. And that'll be 111 on average. We'll be doing 14 d6s plus 4 from sneak attack, dreadful strike, arcane shots for 53. And then if we got that fireball off for before combat and we just cast it at level 3, that'll be another 28 on average. And in a perfect opening volley in the first round, we would do that 28 in a big area effect. Some of our arcane archer stuff would do an effect area of 10 foot around that, but single target, it would be 192 points of damage. Our next rounds would drop off a good little bit, as we would be doing 3d8 plus 15 from our weapon, 3d6 from our Hunter's Mark, 2d6 from a dreadful strike. And if we now used our Hell of Thorns, that would add in another D10. And then we'd also get to throw in our sneak attack damage for 2d6 plus 4. And that's if we have advantage, which shouldn't be too hard for us to get. And so that's 29 from dex and attacks, and 7d6 from all our other little add-on goodies that we do for 29 also, and 1d10. So that's going to come out to our rounds after that first big Nova round would average around 60 to 61 damage for the remaining ones. So it's kind of all or nothing right off the rip, but we do get to just basically wipe someone off the board. And that's a fun little character to play. I mean, we're still super fast and very sneaky. We have got a lot of utility moving around the battlefield. And that first round, we really dropped the hammer on people. So that's this month's Star Wars build for Boba Fett. I mean, he's a first round Nova monster. He still's got amazing ability for fighting mages or Jedi. And if we fail save, we can just pass. And we have proficiency in dex, strength, and con saves. And with our epic boom, we can add and subtract d4s, once a day. We deal tons of damage with our blaster rifles. And we have tons of debuffs too with our arcane shots. And we pretty much do that Nova round, once per short rest as we get our archer shots and our action surge back on that same short rest. He'd be really blast to play in a one shot. If you, if your DM was cool with using the laser rifle, his damage would go down a good little bit if you had to use a longbow. But you most likely have some special longbows by the time you're level 20, so it wouldn't be that far off in the damage. But that's Boba Fett. I hope y'all enjoyed. Well, folks, that's it for this episode of Dragons and Dice. I hope you enjoyed the build out of Boba Fett. Thank you all so much for listening. I greatly appreciate your time and for spending that with me. And if you could, leave a like, subscribe, and follow wherever you're getting your podcast. Or better yet, tell a fellow D&D enthusiast about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to spread the good word about D&D. And so until next time, may the Force be... Wait a minute. We're a bounty hunter. So until next time, you may run, but you only die tired. Bye.